Rachel was meant to be at school one morning, but she came home crying. She had a test paper in her hand that said, "A liar gets a 0. Your dad being a gang member is a lie, right?" Mr. Anderson asked. Rachel wailed pitifully as I held her tenderly. "I appreciate you telling me. It seems that I ought to speak with Mr. Anderson." I brought 50 of my men to the school a few days later. My name is Gregory. I currently reside with my cherished daughter, Rachel, after my wife passed away a few years ago. Rachel began the 3rd grade at her elementary school this year. Despite the fact that I don't have much time for family vacations, I always find time for breakfast. So, how's school lately? It's the same as always. I understand. We had breakfast as usual that morning, but Rachel didn't seem like herself. I made an effort to speak with her, but our exchange ended in silence. Given that winter was approaching and it was still early, perhaps she simply didn't want to get out of her cozy bed. I chose not to confront her. Rachel walked glumly out of the house after breakfast. I yelled, "Have a good day." "Yeah," she said with feeble nod. I cocked my head, wondering whether this kind of morning had always been difficult for her. I didn't have time to consider it, but something didn't feel right. I had to leave for work as well. After putting on my pricey jacket, tying my tie, and putting on a collared dress shirt, I headed to the office. "Good morning." "Hey!" I welcomed my rugged-looking man when I got to the office. I calmly lifted my hand to acknowledge everyone as they bowed one after the other. Following the first, I sat down at the rear of the office and reached into my jacket pocket, but I couldn't find what I was looking for. What? I left my phone at home. Damn it. That morning, I had ignored my own preparation since I was preoccupied with Rachel. It wouldn't matter much when I was younger, but these days I can't function without a phone. The organization uses phones for internal communication as well. I sighed and rose from my chair. "I'm going out for a while. I will return shortly. Compile the paperwork from today and the report from yesterday while I'm away." "Yes, sir." The front door was unlocked when I got home, which was a short walk away. That seemed strange. I normally take care to lock up. Rachel, who should have been at school, was in the living room when I carefully stepped in. "Rachel, why are you here?" "Ah, Dad." Rachel appeared startled as well, but she quickly averted her eyes. "How did school go?" "By now, it ought to have begun." It's fine. Don't worry about it." "No, it's not fine. I won't know what's going on unless you tell me." "Did something happen?" "It's fine. Just drop it." "Hey, wait." Without giving any real explanation, Rachel ran off to her room. It was obvious something had happened, but pressing her now wouldn't help. So I decided to call the school. Using the phone left in the living room, I called the school. A woman named Miss Thompson, the vice principal, answered. I didn't know the school hierarchy well, but I figured I'd get more details from Rachel's teacher than the vice principal. I explained that I was Rachel's father and asked to speak with Mr. Anderson. After a moment, the young man came on the line and introduced himself as Eric Anderson. He seemed annoyed, probably because he was pulled out of class. I could hear the irritation in his voice. "Gregory, what can I do for you?" "It's about Rachel. Did she come to school today?" "No. She wasn't here during roll call, and she hasn't shown up to any classes either. In fact, not just today. She's been absent for a while now." "What? For a while? You mean Rachel hasn't been coming to school at all?" "I wasn't told anything. Why didn't you contact me? Are you trying to blame the school for your lack of communication with your daughter? It's the parents' responsibility to supervise. Maybe the reason she stopped coming lies at home." "What do you mean by that?" I tried to push for an answer, but Mr. Anderson just said, "There's nothing more I can say," and handed the phone back to Miss Thompson. Flustered, she apologized, saying, "I am truly sorry," but apologizing wasn't going to fix anything. I asked Miss Thompson to look into Mr. Anderson's behavior and ended the call. I was furious at Mr. Anderson's attitude, but thinking about it calmly, maybe he wasn't entirely wrong. If I had paid more attention, maybe I would have noticed something was wrong with Rachel sooner. Maybe I hadn't communicated with her as well as I should have. But even when I asked her, She wouldn't talk, and the school was no help. Not knowing what else to do, I called my mother. Yes. What is it? Another parenting crisis? Oh, yeah. Something like that. Every time you call, it's the same story. Bring me some good news for once, would you? Sorry. Ever since I lost my wife, I had no one to turn to for parenting advice. So I had swallowed my pride and started calling my mom. Raising a daughter on my own has been harder than I ever imagined. Sometimes I think risking my life at work is 100 times easier. Maybe sensing how I felt, my mother had become more open about giving me advice. So what happened this time? Well, it turns out Rachel hasn't been going to school for a while. I always saw her off in the mornings, but it seemed she was coming home after I left. Oh, dear. She won't tell me what's going on. And when I called the school, they basically said, maybe it's a problem at home. What's a parent supposed to do in a situation like this? Well, maybe something happened at school. I've heard that even among children these days, there can be complicated social issues. It's hard, but the most important thing is how Rachel feels. How Rachel feels? That's right. If she's running away from school, then you need to be the one place she can run to. Don't scold her without knowing the reason. If she doesn't want to talk, then let her be silent. Accept her with open arms no matter what. My mother's words, coming from the woman who never gave up on raising a delinquent like me, carried real weight. She was right. I couldn't afford to be shaken. I had to make sure Rachel saw home as a safe place, a place she could truly feel at ease. Yeah, you're right. I'm still figuring things out, but I'll think of whatever I can do for Rachel. For Rachel's sake, I'll do anything I can to help. Just take care of yourself, too. Okay. Yeah, thanks. I tapped my phone and ended the call. Come to think of it, I've been so wrapped up in work that I always put myself and my family second. Even when I got married, I was already at an age where people said I'd missed a window. Back when my wife was alive, I depended on her for almost everything from parenting to housework. After she passed, I threw myself into work to make sure Rachel never lacked financially. But I didn't have many memories of just sitting down and talking with her or playing with her. No wonder people said I lacked communication. I had to start by being more present for Rachel. With that decision made, I rushed back to the office to finish work early and make time for family. I managed to wrap up work and get home before sunset. I stood a bit nervously in front of Rachel's room. I'm home. Hey, Rachel, how about we go out for dinner tonight? The closed door cracked open and Rachel peeked out. Really? Yeah. Let's skip my lousy cooking for once and go have something tasty outside. Is that okay? You used to say going out was dangerous. Yeah, I know, but it's not like it used to be. And no matter what happens, I'll protect you. You don't have to worry. Let's go. Rachel came out with her eyes sparkling. She clung tightly to my leg. Given the nature of my work, taking my family out in public had always been a risk. Back then, the neighborhood wasn't exactly safe either, so going out together was out of question. But now, the streets were calmer and I could stay right by her side, so there was no problem. She's my one and only daughter. I'd give my life to protect her. With that strong conviction, I took Rachel out to eat for the first time in years. During dinner, I didn't mention school once. Of course, I was concerned, but I figured if I brought it up, it would cloud her face again. And for the first time in a long while, Rachel laughed. Truly laughed. It was hard to believe how down she'd seemed earlier that day. She smiled brightly, chatted excitedly, and ate with such delight. Yes, Rachel had always been a smart, cheerful girl. So, for her to look that withdrawn, it really wasn't normal. And the fact that I hadn't noticed it sooner just showed how immature I still was as a parent. It was a communication gap. Just like they said, sorry for being such a lousy dad. Huh? What did you say? Oh, nothing. Is it good? Yeah. At least for now, her spirits seemed lifted. I didn't know what tomorrow would bring. But for the moment, all I could do was stay close and keep watch. After dinner, and all the way until bedtime, Rachel kept smiling. I just hoped that smile wouldn't fade. The next morning was a complete contrast to the day before. I watched Rachel leave the house looking energetic, with her school bag on and her cap in place. She definitely looked like she was heading to school, but until yesterday, she had only pretended and come back home afterward. There was no guarantee today would be different. I didn't think she had to force herself to go, but not knowing the reason behind it still worried me. To make sure I didn't miss a single sign, I decided to work from home that day and wait for her. I'd already given instructions to my men yesterday to keep things running without me at the office. I laid my phone and paperwork out on the table in the living room and got to work. As I was drafting a report for my boss, I suddenly heard the front door unlock, the sound of the latch turning. My phone screen read 9:15 a.m., about 30 minutes into the first period. Feeling a sense of dread, I rushed to the entryway, and there was Rachel, looking like she was about to burst into tears. Rachel, Dad. The moment she saw my face, she finally broke down crying. I wrapped my arms around her small frame right there. You did your best. I'm so glad you came home. Let's go inside for now. Okay. Just like my mother said, if Rachel was running away from school, then I needed to be the place she could run to without fear. No matter what, I would protect her. That thought solidified in me again. Back in the living room, I handed Rachel a warm mug of hot chocolate. She placed a crumpled piece of paper she'd been holding onto the table and took the cup. I quickly cleared away my work and sat beside her on the couch, sipping the hot chocolate slowly to cool it down. Rachel gradually seemed to settle down. Rachel, can I ask what happened? Only if you feel like talking. Of course, I won't push you. I'm this. Her face twisted just a little with pain. But Rachel gathered her courage and responded. She pointed at the crumpled piece of paper on the table. I carefully opened it and saw it was a test paper. Rachel, who took after her mother and was always bright, had been marked with a 0. And worse, a liar gets a 0. What is this? There were no markings or corrections on the paper, just those big red words scrawled across it. Even the easy questions, ones I could understand, Rachel had answered correctly, but it looked like it hadn't even been graded. It made no sense at all. I was speechless, and Rachel began to tremble again. I could only imagine how she must have felt receiving that paper and then coming home with it. The thought alone tore me apart. I hugged her again. That must have been so hard. But you're not a liar. I know that, Rachel. Everything's going to be all right. You're okay now. What, Dad? 10 minutes later, once her tears had settled, Rachel began to quietly share what had been happening. Remember around the middle of the first semester, when we got back our science tests? There was this one question I solved a little differently from the textbook. Mr. Anderson said it was wrong, but I don't think it was. I found the same method in a book from the library, and when I asked Miss Thompson, she said, that's valid, too. But Mr. Anderson wouldn't regrade it. How come? Since then, Mr. Anderson stopped talking to me. He even started saying stuff that made me feel stupid. Then the boys in class joined in and started teasing me. So that test is what led to them calling you a liar? No, I don't think this is about the test. You have an idea what it's about? I never told you this, but our school does parent observation days every semester. Wait, really? I had no idea. Yeah, I figured that since you try not to scare people around you, you probably didn't want to come to parent observation days. So I didn't tell you. I'm sorry. No, it's fine. But what does that have to do with you being called a liar? When Mr. Anderson asked why you never came to parent observation days, I told him because my dad is a gang member. I had no words. My job is being part of an organized crime group, which people call a gang. I was a delinquent kid with a bad attitude, lousy grades, and no interest in a normal job. It was through a certain connection that I met Mr. Keller, the boss who took me in and led me down this path. While doing work for the organization, both my senior and Mr. Keller constantly drilled into me. Don't bother civilians. Don't make your parents cry. Thanks to them, I think I've developed at least a bit of a decent sense of humanity. Still, to regular folks, I probably look intimidating. I've got large tattoos, a build that a suit can't hide, and even a few scars on my face. So, I tried to avoid school events because I didn't want to scare the staff or parents. But I never imagined that my absence would end up taking away Rachel's smile. Mr. Anderson said, "That can't be true. Your dad being a gang member is a lie. He's probably just too embarrassed to come because he's a low-life idiot. He didn't even listen to me and started calling me a liar in front of everyone." I see. I gently patted Rachel's head as she quietly sipped her hot chocolate. I was glad she told me. Rachel hadn't done anything wrong. There really was an issue with that test. And it's true. I'd been keeping my distance to avoid making people uncomfortable because of who I am. But Mr. Anderson had refused to acknowledge any of that. Even during our phone call, he'd come off arrogant. Maybe he's got too much pride. It felt like he looked down on Rachel just because she was a kid. Pathetic. Rachel, thank you for telling me. Sounds like I should really have a word with Mr. Anderson. Really? But don't you hate going to school? Well, it doesn't feel right never showing my face, especially when they're the ones taking care of you. You said a parent observation day happens every semester, right? When's the one for the semester? Next week. Perfect. I'll confront him. No, I mean I'll go and say hello properly. Okay, if you don't feel like going to school, you don't have to. Don't push yourself. Nope. If you're going, then I'm coming with you. Let's confront together. You're just going to school. Don't go picking up weird words. That one's on me. Okay. Her expression lit up. It was a relief to see, but my real challenge was just beginning. In my own way, I would protect Rachel. With that, I contacted the office and let them know I had an unexpected confrontation scheduled for the following week. 1 week later, the parent observation day had arrived. I stopped by the office briefly, then headed to the school on foot. I wore a muted, professional-looking suit, one that wouldn't draw attention but still passed for a civilian outfit. I stood at the entrance of the office building. Surrounding me were my stern-faced men. There were around 50 of them. Sorry, Gregory. It was short notice, so this is all we could round up. No, this is more than enough. Anymore, and we'd be drawing too much attention. All right, let's move. Yes, sir. I led the way confidently with the others falling in line behind me. I had told them to wear casual clothes that wouldn't stand out, not their usual suits. Of course, covering up their tattoos was non-negotiable. The sight of them all in their clumsy civilian outfits, most with no fashion sense whatsoever, was honestly hilarious, but I kept that to myself. And so, we arrived at Rachel's elementary school. Rachel should already be in class by now. I had to hold my head high for her sake to make sure her efforts today wouldn't be wasted. We passed through the school gate into the yard, heading for the building, when a woman suddenly came rushing out to stop us. "Who are you people? Sorry to alarm you. I'm Gregory, the father of Rachel in class 3-1. Oh, you're the one who called about Rachel last week, right? Ah, so you remember, I was the one who transferred the call that day. Then you must be Miss Thompson. I'm terribly sorry for all the trouble. I'm here today to speak directly with Rachel's homeroom teacher, Mr. Anderson, I believe. Would you mind letting him know?" "Yes, understood. He's still in class at the moment, so there may be a bit of a wait. Would you mind waiting in the reception room?" "Of course. Thank you. Certainly, but, the gentleman behind you, are they also guardians of students?" "Nah, don't worry. They'll wait outside. I'll go in alone." "All right. You guys know the drill. Don't cause trouble and don't scare the civilians." "Yes, sir." Leaving my men outside, I followed a clearly nervous Miss Thompson into the school and was shown into the reception room. She even offered me tea before saying, "I'll go get Mr. Anderson right away," and left. I sat down on the guest sofa, sipping the tea as I waited for the man to arrive. A few minutes later, the chime rang through the speaker in the corner. Class must have just ended. Soon after, there was a knock at the door. I gave a short reply, and a young man, probably still in his 20s, entered with an arrogant swagger. He slumped into the sofa across from me and let out an exaggerated sigh. "I'm Eric, the homeroom teacher for class 3-1. Nice to meet you. I'm Gregory, Rachel's father. Pleased to make your acquaintance." "Ah, so you're the rumored gang member. He sneered. Mr. Anderson practically mocked me. Just imagining him speaking to Rachel the same way made my blood boil, but I kept my cool and responded calmly. Do you remember a few months back when Rachel asked you about her test answers? I understand she pointed out what she believed was a grading error. That might have happened, but I don't really remember. I don't make grading mistakes. Teachers are human, too. Mistakes happen. What makes you so sure you're infallible? Well, I graduated from Tokyo University. Unlike common folks who keep making mistakes, I'm on a whole different level. But I wouldn't expect someone like you to understand that. There's no way someone like me would make a mistake a grade schooler could catch. Listening to him talk with such smug certainty made my frustration grow. Even I knew that Tokyo University was a top-tier school, but I didn't think that gave him a right to look down on Rachel. Tokyo University? Huh. So what? What? You're telling me you're sure there was no mistake in grading just because you went to Tokyo University? That's right. Glad you finally understand. Honestly, talking to someone so beneath me is just exhausting. No wonder your daughter turned out to be the kind of child who tells ridiculous lies. Like, my father is a gang member. Oh, so you really think Rachel made that up? Of course. Maybe it's time you acknowledge your own failings and apologized. Say it loud. I'm a burden on society, a disgrace who couldn't even raise his kid properly. I'm sorry for causing everyone so much trouble. He slammed his hand on the table. The teacup tipped over, spilling its contents. That was the end of his tirade. It seemed, and after hearing him out, I couldn't understand any of it. Maybe if I were one of those elites, I could make sense of his attitude. Why did this young teacher, still early in his career, think he could throw his weight around in a place like a school? Does having a Tokyo University degree really hold that much value among civilians? Even if it does, it doesn't justify hurting Rachel. Not ever. I'm not accepting that. There's no way I'm letting a guy like this be responsible for my daughter Rachel. Just as I was about to unleash my anger, the door to the reception room swung open without so much as a knock. Excuse me. Forgive the interruption, but I couldn't help overhearing your conversation. Miss Thompson, what are you doing? That's completely inappropriate. I do apologize, but there's something that must be corrected in what I just heard. Corrected? Yes, Mr. Anderson. You said there was no grading mistake, but that's not true. What are you talking about? Please take a look at this. Miss Thompson quickly cleared the table and laid out a test paper and a thick book. The title read, Introduction to Physics for Elementary Students. She pointed to a specific part of the book and explained, this is a science test where a grading mistake was suspected. Now, while the textbook explains one method for solving the problem, Rachel used a different approach, but she arrived at the same answer. This book, written by a prominent physicist and graduate of Tokyo University, outlines that exact method. I believe Rachel, being an avid reader and a bright student, must have come across it in her studies. That's absurd. Mr. Anderson stared at the test paper and the book, comparing them intently. While he was distracted, Miss Thompson turned to me and bowed deeply. Gregory, I must apologize. I was unable to correct Mr. Anderson's conduct. He is, in fact, the son of the school's board chairman. While there hasn't been direct pressure from the chairman himself, it's difficult for us to openly go against Mr. Anderson. Ah, I see. So, that's what's been going on. So, Mr. Anderson hadn't been acting out just because he went to Tokyo University, but because he was also the chairman's son, having both academic prestige and parental influence. Yeah, that could make someone feel untouchable. And if no one around him could challenge him, it would only get worse. Honestly, I almost felt sorry for the guy. But Miss Thompson, why are you speaking up now? When Rachel asked me about the test, I realized a mistake, too. But at the time, I didn't say anything. I thought it would be easier if the student just let it go because it was only a small score issue, but I've regretted it ever since, seeing how deeply it hurt her. I know it's not enough, but I'd like to formally apologize on behalf of the school. I'm truly sorry. She stood and bowed again, even deeper than before. I sighed quietly. Miss Thompson, please, you don't need to bow to me. Your apology won't change anything. The one who needs to apologize and reflect is sitting right there, isn't he? Ugh. I'll admit there might be room for discussion regarding the test, but in any case, what's done is done. As long as we work on preventing a repeat, that's enough. If you're satisfied, then please leave. Not yet. How do you plan to take responsibility for calling Rachel a liar? She hasn't been able to attend school because of you, and she never lied. Not even once. Calling her dad a gang member is just some low-grade scare tactic. That kind of thing doesn't fly anymore. So, if I prove I'm actually a gang member, then she's not a liar in your book, right? If you like, I can show you my tattoos or even our family crest. Better yet, why don't I invite you to my office? You'll be greeted by a few of my men. They've got a tough look, but they're decent guys. What nonsense is this? Mr. Anderson panicked. I leaned in, serious as ever. I was ready to do whatever it took to prove Rachel wasn't lying. Just then, there was a knock at the door. I exchanged a glance with Miss Thompson. She straightened her posture and softly called, "Yes." But before she got a reply, the door opened. The moment the person entered, Miss Thompson gasped. "The chairman? Mr. Anderson? What? Huh?" Both teachers looked stunned. I just blinked, unsure how to react. The chairman was the highest authority in the school. He was even above the vice principal or the principal. It should be someone from the founding family, a major sponsor, or a figure of immense influence. Something like that. But what on earth was someone like that doing here? While we stood frozen, Mr. Anderson pushed his son aside and took a seat directly across from me. "Good afternoon. I'm Kenneth, the chairman of this elementary school." "Ah, nice to meet you. I'm Gregory, father of Rachel from class 3 to 1. "I know. It's been a while, Gregory." My brow furrowed without thinking. Been a while? What does that mean? I'm pretty sure I've never met a heavy-set, middle-aged guy like this before. He introduced himself as Kenneth. Do I know anyone by that name? As I was deep in thought, Mr. Anderson let out a snort and laughed through his nose. "Huh? Of course you don't remember. Who remembers the face of a middle school classmate? Anyway, middle school classmate? Yes. We were in class 3 to 5 at a middle school. Our homeroom teacher was Mr. Morris, though you skipped school for about half the year. Didn't even show up in the group photo. Now that you mention it, I did go to that school, that class. I do remember that teacher's name. And yeah, I skipped a lot." Finally starting to remember, I added, "I can't recall the names or faces of classmates, but I guess it's true we were in the same class." "What, Dad? You and Gregory were classmates." Mr. Anderson looked more shocked than anyone. Even Miss Thompson stood blinking beside him. Honestly, I wasn't sure what to make of it myself. Mr. Anderson, who claimed to be my former classmate, shot a sharp glance at his son sitting beside him and then turned back to face me. I've been briefed on the situation. It seems my foolish son has called one of his own students a liar. He even encouraged the class to mock her. I truly apologize. With that, Mr. Anderson bowed his head. He placed one hand firmly on Eric's head, who was sitting next to him, and forced him to bow as well. But Eric wasn't done, and he tried to fight back. "Wait! Hold on, Dad. Mr. Anderson, you believe him over me? He's a gang member, for crying out loud." "He is." "Yes. Gregory is a legitimate gang member, a senior member of a large organization that oversees this entire region. In fact, he even has his own group now." "What? Oh, you know quite a bit about me. Am I that famous?" I chuckled. "Huh? You really don't remember anything, do you? Don't you remember getting into a fight to help me when some thugs picked on me back in middle school?" "Did I? I fought so many back then. I can't remember which was which. But yeah, now that I think about it, beating up those punks was what got me started on this path. I kept getting targeted by delinquents after that and beat every one of them. Eventually, I got recruited. Maybe you were there that day, huh?" "That was you?" Eric asked. "More or less," I replied. "But I guess you've completely forgotten about me. Even at the many class reunions, people talk about you. They say, He's a gang member who never harmed civilians. Back then, I skipped school whenever I felt like it and never turned down a fight. School was boring, and I had nothing better to do. I didn't know how to deal with the strength I had. Whether they were students or adults, I fought everyone. Eventually, a real gang member took notice. Mr. Keller, the boss, who said, "I'll teach you how to use that strength," and brought me into his organization. Under him, I learned about honor, respect, and restraint. Never show off your strength. Never harm civilians. Never make your parents cry. Those teachings still live in me. By the time I finished middle school, I'd stopped picking fights unnecessarily. I'd learned better ways to protect the things I cared about. I didn't go to high school. Instead, I stayed by Mr. Keller's side, and here I am today. Well, whether you remember or not, Gregory isn't the kind of man who lies or accuses others without reason. He may be rough around the edges, but he stands up for those in need. At the very least, he'd never use his background or title to belittle someone else. Listening to all this, Eric looked frustrated. Here was my old classmate, now the chairman of a major school dedicated to raising the next generation. And me? I'm still the same no-good guy I've always been. Still, if nothing else, I want to be the kind of man my wife and Rachel can be proud of. I looked once more at Eric. So, there's no more reason to call Rachel a liar, is there? Yes, I can personally vouch that he's a gang member. Of course, neither I nor the school have any connection to organized crime. I haven't seen Gregory in decades. So, do you have something to say? I'm truly sorry. That doesn't sound like enough. Rachel was not lying, and the issue of the test. It was a grading error on my part. I deeply apologize. Let me also offer my apologies, Gregory. I'm truly sorry your precious daughter had to go through this. We are terribly sorry. The three of them bowed in unison. This time, I wanted to believe it came from genuine remorse. Please raise your heads. I don't need any more apologies. I wasn't the one who got hurt here. Yes, Eric, go to the classroom immediately and apologize to Rachel in front of the students and parents. Miss Thompson, can I ask you to supervise? Of course, she replied. Thank you. And another thing, the plan to have you succeed me as the next chairman. That's off the table. I can't entrust a future to someone who would willingly harm students. We'll appoint someone more suitable. What? Please wait, Mr. Anderson. That has nothing to do. You think this is a separate matter? Good grief. When did you become such a twisted person? As a father, I'm ashamed. Kenneth, if you'd like, I can take him off your hands. Straightening out punks like him is one of my specialties. What? You mean at your gang office? No way. I laugh. I'd love to take you up on that. But just don't make it obvious. If people start suspecting a connection between a school and a gang organization, it could seriously damage our reputation. These days, even a rumor is enough to destroy us. I get it. Don't worry. Not every job in the organization is about sitting behind a desk. I got plenty of ways to keep it low-key. You'll see. Is that so? In that case, I'll trust you. If he becomes a decent human being, he can come back. All right. Once you got your mind and body ready, get in touch. Don't even think about running away, Eric. Please. No. After that, Eric was practically dragged out by Miss Thompson. It probably wouldn't be long before the school cut ties with him. 2. I handed my office contact info to the chairman, Mr. Anderson, and took my leave. It wouldn't be good for someone with his public standing to have ties to a gang member like me, just in case. I gave him my number, but didn't take his in return. As I stepped out of the school building, a few of my men rushed over. They were out of breath, holding full trash bags and wearing towels around their necks. Gregory, welcome back. Thank you for your hard work. Idiot. I wasn't locked up. Everything's done here. How about your side? Yes, sir. We showed the civilians a thing or two. While I've been inside handling things, I had my men assigned to tasks around the school. Their wording was rough, but they had done solid work. Even if Rachel's name had been cleared, being the daughter of a gang member carried a heavy stigma. It was unrealistic to expect people not to be afraid of gangs in general. But maybe, just maybe, if they could see we weren't all bad, Rachel wouldn't have to carry that burden. That's why I'd order my men to help clean up and beautify the school. They were involved in tasks like landscaping the yard, pulling weeds from the flower beds, fixing up the playground, and picking up litter around the area. All 50 of them had been given clear roles and worked in harmony to serve the community. If people could recognize our faces and associate us with kindness instead of fear, maybe Rachel wouldn't be made to feel ashamed. If it's to protect Rachel's smile, I'll do anything. All right, everyone, we're heading back to the office. Pick up trash along the way. Hand me gloves and a bag, too. Yes, sir. I didn't make it to the parent observation day itself, but I'd say we accomplished a lot. That evening, Rachel came home around sunset, apparently having walked back, chatting happily with her friends after we left. Eric went to class 3-1 and offered a public explanation and apology under Miss Thompson's watch. He bowed deeply and acknowledged both the grading error and his poor behavior. Rachel told me herself, and the kids who used to tease her apologized too. They said, "We're sorry for being so mean. Did you forgive them?" "Yeah, I told them. Just promise you'll never do it to me or anyone else again. We can't be causing trouble for civilians, after all. Stop using weird words like that, though. I guess it's kind of my fault. But I see you were able to make up with everyone. Think you'll be okay to go to school from now on." "Yep, I'm excited to play with everyone." Seeing her smile warmed my heart. But now that the whole incident had been explained and Rachel's innocence confirmed, it meant something else too. It meant the students and their parents knew her father really was a gang member. I could imagine how shaken the parents must have been. I just hoped it wouldn't cause Rachel to be pushed away again. Oh, and guess what? Everyone said they want to meet you and your men. Huh? What? Well, your men were cleaning up the school, right? And you were picking up trash, too. We saw it from the classroom during recess. Everyone said they got scary faces, but they seemed like good people. I was so happy to hear that. I see. Yeah. So, next time we have a school event, come, okay? I want to show everyone that my dad's a gang member, but he's not scary and he's awesome. All right, I promise. Looks like our cleanup effort worked better than I'd hoped. It wouldn't mean much if we just did it once, though. Maybe we should make it a regular thing. A non-scary gang member. It sounded kind of ridiculous, but the idea that we might actually be accepted by the community made me feel a little happy. Someday, if something really serious happens, I hope the people around here won't hesitate to come to us for help. All right, time for dinner. What's the side dish? My special Hamburg steak came out pretty good today. It's not as fancy as the one from the kids' meal at a restaurant you had when we went out the other day. But still, I like eating out, but I love your cooking more. Thanks. That means a lot. We set the food on the table, and Rachel and I smiled at each other and said, "Let's eat." That night's Hamburg steak was the best I'd ever made. Eric, who had been Rachel's homeroom teacher, was forced to resign the day after the parent observation day. Just as promised, we took him into our organization. We also run a company as a legitimate front. Eric now works for that company and gets sent all over the country. In modern Japan, there are many vital industries like fishing, farming, forestry, and construction that desperately lack young workers. Our company sends manpower to those places, offering support through dispatch services. It's usually a last resort for folks drowning in debt. But I didn't tell Eric that and just toss him in. Today, he went to the sea. Tomorrow, he will go to the mountains. Eric now struggles in places where resumes and degrees mean nothing. Please let me take a break. I can't feel my arms anymore. You just took a break. If you don't hurry, the sun's going to set. Come on, get up, get up. I can't take this anymore. Class 3-1, now without Eric, has Miss Thompson as the acting homeroom teacher. She has plenty of experience and is well liked by the students. Rachel has taken quite a liking to her, too. Since that whole incident, I've made it a point to be more present in Rachel's life, making up for lost time. We've been spending a lot more of it together.